Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 27 of Illium, our modded Cities 1 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Been letting the simulation run since last episode, and now we've finally hit 65,000 population, which allows us to open up the last of the 9 tiles. Any console builders following along with this project, this will be your last tile on this map before we move on to our 25 tile builds, for those on remastered, and then after that of course onto the final 81 tile stages of the project. But that's still a while away yet, so don't worry. But today I wanted to slow down again, as we're opening up the last tile. Lots more empty space has appeared. I think it's important we establish these arterial boundaries with a road network episode, so we can help keep the build to scale, so it doesn't get too over the top, and continue the city growing the way it is. But a happy Monday to you all, and welcome back to Illium, everyone. Alright guys, so huge moment today. We're going to come into our last tile. Fortunately, this is the 9th tile, which is quite depressing for those on console. I would definitely recommend you grab this one. You could also get this one if you wanted to make use of this area. But I think it will leave your kind of major downtown space feeling quite unfinished if you don't grab this one. Such a shame. I would definitely recommend moving to remastered version if you're on console so you can get 25 tiles. But ultimately the advice is, play on PC. It is quite a different game, to be honest. And we'll also reclaim several thousand trees. So I'll try to talk through my process here. For those of you who've been watching me for a while, I know we do these road network episodes. Every maybe 15 or 20 episodes of a series or so, they tend to appear. And I often get asked, Egg, how do you plan a city? How do you keep it kind of growing at the rate that it is? Make sure things don't get too silly or too over the top. And road network planning is very much an element of that. If we take examples of this previously, we can see that our initial downtown road frame for Illium really helped us map out these individual builds, like the transit hub, and the campus is a great example. So our road network prep coming all the way down here perfectly gives us the design for our campus, likewise with the neighborhoods next door to it, and everything else around it. So it's quite an important element, I think, of planning, especially a modded city, when you're going into 25 and 81 tile projects in particular. But a lot of fun here to play with today, right? So first of all, I would like to establish a new major intersection in the city, and I think we're going to do one that we established all the way back in Ilos, the bow tie intersection, which is a really fun one, and we'll start with that, because I do want it to be quite prominent. So the arterial road from here, let's map out something of a trajectory. So we spoke about this asset before, mapping onto that connection there. And we're going to have to do some fun node controller things here. And yeah, let's just remove all this forest because I'll reclaim the trees. Yeah, so let's see what node controller can do for this. So it does actually work quite nicely there. And I want that to continue out the other side. Now, will this work? That's the question. I've never tried to fuse a corner arterial onto an asset that has roads on it, like the central part before. We just want to adjust our nodes till we get none of that tearing. But that kind of works for me, to be honest. I think I'm pretty happy with that. And this road that we just replaced, I want to keep in. And we'll have that go there. We'll also change these nodes to be a slope, which does make a little bit of difference. Just makes it so it doesn't look... I don't think we can do it here, can we? We sort of can, but I think it looks better as a flat, to be honest. We don't need this little road anymore, and then our cyclists can continue. Now, I'm actually not sure what's going to happen feeding the cyclists through the bow tie. We'll find out. And this big cycling arterial will be embedded into the continued central part build. What I'm looking for here is a sensible space to cross over. Then again, we could put it here, couldn't we? And then we could surround the other central part builds either side of the arterial, essentially allowing the arterial to run down this hill, which I think is what's going to happen. The monorail we'll worry about in a second. We'll have a whole section of this episode on public transit. I'm going to come in with my topography view here as well, and I am going to do some terraforming, which will be a little bit harsh at first, but don't worry, it'll come together as always. I'm going to trim everyone down, I think, to this particular contour line. I give myself a little more room than I need. And trying to keep the shape of the hill. we're giving myself a bit more room. I want this road now to come pretty much straight down here. This can go all the way through. This is where we'll form the bow tie intersection today. And then crossing over the highway for the first time into this new bit of the map over here. I want to grab a contour line. That puts us there. Where does that level out to this side? About here on this hilltop, doesn't it? I'm going to bring this one down a little bit. And then with that in, I'm just going to do a network multi-slope. So we'll go from here. Essentially all the way back to this one, I think. That'll bring us down to a 1.2 gradient. And then we can cross this over the highway here. Now, in a recent city showcase, we actually saw some really nice bridges. Now, it's tend to be something I avoid, the extra high stuff. But I think in this instance, I'm going to go for it. So I tend to avoid super tall bridges, but they actually look very nice in city showcase. So we'll accentuate the valleys around. You will perfectly cross over there. Then we can come back to our normal behavior. Go ahead and give this a big soften just so we can ease out these slopes. Now, I haven't really thought about what's going to lie over this side of the city just yet. So if you have any ideas, I'm imagining it's just going to be outer lying suburbia to serve the purpose of lying on the edge of the downtown. But there's some pretty interesting landscapes over here. So if there's this chunk of land on screen, if you have any ideas, feel free to throw them in the comments. I'm certainly open to suggestions for this bit of the city here. Well, everywhere really. Not just this instance. And then this will be a super important road for this neighborhood. Really making use of terrain. Likely arriving at another set of slip ramps that plugs into this. So again, always a good point to help future prep your arterial roads. Just gives you a sense of where the traffic's going to go and how bad it's going to get. Use some of this out. Just a little bit of soften, and we'll see what we think of this bridge. Yeah, I don't mind that at all, actually. We could even go for one of the suspension arches here from the is it the After Dark road that does it? Or if I force you into bridge segment. Yeah, this one here is the one I'm thinking of. The sections aren't equidistant because, well, we can fix that with Move It, but I don't know, actually. I feel like that might be quite a nice landmark. Really frames that valley nicely, doesn't it? Okay. I think we'll go with that then. I think I'll be fairly happy with that. So with one arterial road established, we can now form our bow tie intersection. So I'll run through the base premise of it, and then we can get the rest of it established. I'm going to give myself a bit more room again, because I do need 2 roundabouts at either side of this junction here. So we'll dig out the terrain we need, and reclaim it with sloping. So the whole point of a bow tie intersection is we will establish our other arterial roads. Again, I think I'm going to keep the cycling on it. So let's just see where we want to come out here. I wouldn't mind meeting up with this junction. About there, and then it's going to come down here as well. So this point here seems a good start. So we'll come out with a basic junction here. So we want to do 10 units and 10 units. Then on the end of these roads, we'll do our 3-lane cycling road. And I'll do 6x6 roundabout. Yeah, that'll be fine. I'll give myself the extra unit. We'll do 6 units. Again, because we're on pretty gnarly terrain here, ignore any inconsistencies, detailing time-lapse egg will fix that, I assure you. And then the same thing again on this side. So the main configuration of a bow tie intersection is that the left turn for the roundabout directions, so this conflict here as they turn left, is removed, in fact. So we did this in Ilos, if there's anyone still around from Milos. So we want those left turns gone, right? So they can't cross that direction and this direction. Instead, if they want to make that turn, they must turn right, use the roundabout to then go left. Well, straight ahead in this instance, but it would be a left turn from this one. We had great success with this in Ilos, and they look absolutely fantastic when you intersection map them up. But that is essentially the general rule of the intersection here. Really easy to set up. The intersection markings are a little more complex, but we'll go over them. It's just some basic fillers It's quite a nice little time, really. This road here, I'm just going to do that for right now. Again, I imagine this will probably become a more significant intersection, if not another roundabout system. Because this highway network won't be able to stay like this. I imagine that'll probably get too busy with that. But we'll find out. And then with this one, I want to plug this back down. I think it's possible, we mentioned this last episode actually, about possibly turning this into a roundabout as well. Which I think I'm going to do. So let's just configure this quickly. And then as we switch back up into the central park spaces, we'll do this. Now this is where I think we'll have a lot of issues. We have had sort of a lot of suggestions for a zoo to sit as part of this central park over here, which I can certainly envision on the hillside. Should be quite an interestingly challenging build, that one. We just want to establish some new ridges that just even out this terrain for us. Down from the bottom so it's not quite as unapproachable. And this can just wind up gradually, looking into there. We'll give it a multi-slope. I think this is going to be quite harsh. We'll bring it down to the second node. Yeah, that gives us 9.7. Which I'm not against extending the hillside down a little bit, just to help blend that in. You know, a lot of this is likely to be relatively forested. Okay, I think I can deal with that as my arterial connection up to the top there. I'll be happy with that. And then let's just give our roundabout a little sort up. And then there's plenty of detailable space here. Looks like we might be running with some slightly tight nodes. But again, detailing will help us with that, I think. Wonderful scenes, that still flows. And then we should already have people coming up here. I'd love to see someone potentially use it from this direction. So we can show off the intersection. Let's turn off some traffic lights through here as well, we won't need this many. So currently, no one is really using these turns because there's nothing down here, which I suppose makes sense. But one day they will. But either way, I'll leave that graphic up from the Virginia Department of Transportation. America has a lot of these really fun traffic flow systems that adapt really well for CS, and the continuous flow and the bow tie being two examples that we've used in Illium. But have a look at some more. The Florida Department of Transportation has a really good YouTube channel, actually, of different intersections. That's worth checking out if you're into your road planning. But, you know, that graphic probably explains it a little bit better than I can. The left turn across the intersection is removed, so it can be taken on the roundabout to go that way instead. It looks a little over-prepared right now because this isn't at all busy. But one day it will be, because it will be a major arterial into this neighborhood and also serve all of the builds around it. Okay? So that's the plan anyway. Let's turn our attention to the monorail now, because this is essentially a roller coaster and it's very wild indeed. So I want to address this. So, first of all, the metro station is on fire. That's fine. Let's actually bring that metro across, actually, because we're going to want to do this too. This is another major transit connection. That's going there. And it looks like that perfect little bit of road segment is going to upgrade like a dream into an elevated segment, isn't it? Again, slight height discrepancies and clashes we can address in our time lapse here. Yeah, let's send that right the way through. Might even dig down a little here just to sink it a touch more on its approach down, because they are quite tall valleys over there. All the way through. And then you're going to come right up to another crossing here, which I think this little highway valley is very quickly going to become the value of bridges, isn't it? Which I think one day, again, we all know how much we appreciate a layer on the channel. This is very much going to form one of those layers. I think I'll force it into bridge segment so we get the supporting trusses. And we'll adjust that pillar in a second as well. That can go down there. And I think what I'd like to do with this metro, again, where's it going to go? This is 25 tile building out here, isn't it? Just thinking that there's another valley we could possibly cross it across here, maybe over this intersection. If we were to bring... I can terraform here, can't I? Yeah, just as this is a 25 tile area. Well, essentially bringing the metro across this interchange to create more bridges. And then we'll feed it and terminate the line possibly down in this bay. Although again, the terrain over here might not be most appropriate for metro. I imagine we'll probably do quite a lot of terraforming techniques over there to work that. So we'll go with that anyway. That's the general consensus. Metro will flow in that general direction there. Again, don't forget to get your build ideas for that particular area of the city in the comments below. And that little bridge here, I'll just use move it. Pull him into the middle, which is perfectly framed actually. Isn't that just a happy accident? That's the metro. Now the monorail, which is what we did want to do. I think certainly deserves a stop atop this hill, which will coincide with zoos and other relevant Central Park builds. I'm thinking of putting renewed history down here, by the way. Again, this is all pre-recorded in advance of me going to Stockholm, so at this point, for me, the DLC is still in early access. It hasn't actually released yet. But renewed history is going to go here, I think, in this build next to the old factory. Just to think out loud for a little bit. So it's sticking a metro monorail station here. And then we'll let this dictate the height the monorail comes to. I'm pretty happy with where it's currently flowing. I wonder, can I get you so that monorail pillar sits in the median? Looks like we can. I will have another intersection out here. Actually, perfect. Isn't that just a happy accident? This is actually 4-lane structure here, which I'm probably going to downgrade actually, because we've got this 4-lane arterial here now. I can snap onto that. Let's make sure we stay on the ground here. And then our mods will ease out any junk. Do 1, 2 on a slope. Down to 6% again, which is still okay. It's just, I don't know if that's okay. I assume there must be a maximum gradient a monorail will flow up. Anyone knows what that is? Monorail, please, I imagine. Do let us know. Yeah, so this can just be not as dramatic anymore coming over here. I actually wonder how well create curve mode for network multi-tool will work well here. The only reason I don't do this super often is it can often create, especially with keys, loads and loads of nodes. So I tend to do it myself where I can. I actually want to slope this as well now, so... I mean, that one essentially down to the next station is going to be fine, isn't it? Brings us up to a 5.6 gradient. Which again, we're creating some tall networks here now. But I'm not against it, I don't think. I think we'll keep it in. And then of course this over here. We'll do the same thing with those connectivity mods again as well. That's obviously slicing through the land. And then we'll do a slope from this node here. It's possibly down to this one. This could make it significantly worse. It does make it taller. Now again, it obviously looks very exposed at the minute because it's got nothing around the base of it. But if we were to drop in some faithful Illium forest, again, which will make up a lot of park green belt, I almost wonder if I can get this flowing above the canopy of the park. Which is a very almost kind of Singapore, kind of Dubai-esque design, isn't it? This very modern, swooping public transit infrastructure. But just a spice sample it, if you like. I think it certainly takes some of the sting out of it with it being so tall, doesn't it? Either that or we carry on and loop it around this way to take a smoother gradient back up. But I don't know, I kind of like that. Especially I think once we get the after dark lights in it, it'll look a little nicer. So of course it'll appear like the rest of the monorail track does down here. So I think we'll do that now actually just on this section so we can get a sample of it together. If you don't know what these are, I'll walk through them. These are the after dark lights, so obviously coming with the after dark DLC. And if you search for light on Find It, you'll eventually find these things down here. Wall mounted lights. So let's, I mean, what colour was it we used over here? It wasn't that blue, was it? It was the more baby blue looking one. And with prop snapping turned on, we can place these pretty much on top of the pillars. And really versatile lights, these. Unfortunately, they can only be found with Find It. They're not in the unmodded official asset pool, unfortunately, for some reason. But as we head uphill, back to the station. Are you going to go monorail? Or are you confused because your line has been broken, probably? I mean, that just looks so fucking cool, doesn't it? How amazing is that? That's such a... I'm so glad we went with over-the-top monorail integration for Illium. That might be easily one of the best transit networks we've established that. Can you move, please, monorail? I'd love to see you flow. Has that really confused you, has it? I actually wonder if it's broken the line, maybe. No. Would you like me to delete you? Let's try that. Oh, what's up with you? Just go. It's absolutely fine, I assure you. There we go. I think there were just a few gremlins in the system. Now we can experience this together. Quite blinding, I'm sure, for the monorail driver himself, or perhaps they're automated these days, who knows? But yeah, I think we'll go with that. I can't really refuse that, can I? The visual of monorail above the canopy with those lights is just too good for over-the-top design egg to say no to. Monorail isn't finished at all yet, though. We mentioned last episode when we were building this area. And that's like another station down here. Just to briefly consider underground networks, there's a underground metro here, but that's going to be embedded into the renewed history section along this area. I'm not massively bothered about that one. And likewise with this one, that'll just go underground, no problem, so nothing to consider there really, thankfully. And then we talked about mirroring this design. So from here to here, it's essentially 5 tiles, is that? Oh no, it's more, 7. Okay, so 7 units there. And that down. And this will flow parallel with the couplet. Perfectly into there, actually. We see that's a sort of a problem there. We've got a really short segment. We don't really want that to happen. I'm just going to push that node down, which will elongate this segment here. And I think I have mentioned in Illium, I am planning a noob's guide to modding, so starting with Skive and then running through all the baseline mods we use here. But just as I was planning that, DLC is released with a patch. So that's not really possible yet because it will be instantly outdated if some major mods break. So expect that once this patch is stabilized and we're back in. Wonderful. Now do I want this to be the same height? Very possibly. So I'm going to grab the nodes of this parallel road down to the height of the station. And then we'll have this sit pretty much perfectly in the middle here. This will be a really nice station to detail this. And I'm just thinking, do we want the station on the couplet road? Yeah, we will. Not that it really matters anyway, because they'll be connected back to both roads with pathways. And then we'll just do some sloping. Use out some more awkward slopes. That can reposition. And then we'll bring our elevated pedestrian pathway back in. Which I think now, because the station's occupying that space, I'm going to bring it up this side instead. Cool. So we'll do that. And I'm just going to nudge my monorail station up a bit so that path isn't being clipped. And then this can hold a new monorail line, which now needs to flow properly because they're not currently. I'll tell you what, actually, where are these two monorail lines? I haven't named my monorail lines, everyone. Okay, so it's monorail line 3 and 4. I'm going to delete both of these now. Delete that one there, and that should have no monorails flowing around this central system now. So I'm just doing this because they were all kind of overlapping and mixed and matched. And we'll talk through the process of the figure of 8 interchange here. So that one there is the airport monorail. That's fine. So from this one here, we're going to start a new line. And then we'll feed it this direction first. So essentially heading, I guess, anti-clockwise around. Straight the way down. This then comes all the way into here before it loops around, completing the line that direction. We then want exactly the same thing mirrored, starting a new line. Oh, I forgot the Jangbisoft stop. How could I? That's the only reason I built the city. And then we can see, actually, let me keep on top of this admin here. This is why I should do it, everyone, so it doesn't confuse you. And then these central park lines I'm going to make quite a luminous green. And that's Central Park anti-clockwise. And then we can do the same mirror here as well. We create a new line. But this time we can see it's running the opposite direction to its green counterpart. So it comes down here, up the top, back into Central Park, and then all the way back into the central station, giving us our 5th monorail line, which will also be, maybe we can do a bit of an opposites thing, green and yellow, bit of lemon and lime perhaps. And that is our Centre Park clockwise route. Both have 7 stops, which is exactly what we want. We've got 431 passengers on this monorail line now, which is really good to see. So I'm banking them all being this busy once the city's essentially nearly finished, or at least the downtown space is finished. And there's scope to bring this monorail down that way as well, isn't there? Possibly into another massive coastal park that's going to lie over here. Which we can do now, because we're very much in 25 tile spaces, and we'll be able to finish this bit of the map soon. Not been over here for ages. Since even before we started the downtown, actually, which was eons ago, wasn't it? Cool, so our lemon and lime monorails are now flowing. And indeed getting small amounts of use. But they are in regardless. Fantastic. There we go. They're side by side in the station there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So lemon for clockwise and lime for counterclockwise, I guess, can be how the locals remember it, right? So let's return back up to the hillside center here. And we can start to make use of a lot of these little roundabout exit and connections here. So like I mentioned at the start of the episode, it's all these new road boundaries now that will help me dictate the size of builds, you know, where they start and end with the overflow. Exactly what we're talking about here with renewed history. It'll essentially sit between these arterial boundaries, right? So it can be a lot of fun to do. Really helps me in terms of city planning anyway, so I hope it can also provide you, indeed, with some inspiration as well. I'm not against a metro crossing in the park, which I think I will do. And then lots of little connections now that take us back to our major arterial spaces. Now, in terms of these little intersections, I don't want everything to be over the top roundabout city everywhere. Sorry, Biffa. But I think here we might just go for some dedicated turn lanes. We could even fall down into 3-lane one-way road here. Given the fact we've got 3 turn-ins there, right? I think that probably makes sense. And then that one as well. Again, that segment there is really small. Something you want to avoid if you can help it. You won't spot them all the time. And I think I'm probably happy to run this as 2-lane configuration now. Back into that roundabout. Maybe even keeping this one as 2-lane down here, actually. Yeah, I think that's how we'll run that. And then this can also become 2-lane highway. Now, this was Teddy's design here, but again, I think because this is going to serve another entire district at one point, these will eventually collapse under the weight of traffic, regardless of how many arterial connections we give over the valley. So I think in the detailing time-lapse, I'm going to turn these into roundabouts, exactly what we've just done down here, really, with these configurations. Because I think they will need it, so we'll future prep it while we're also working on this bit of the city here. Now the final connection I want to look at before we move into that detailing time-lapse is this train line over here, which has been left unconnected, very much as an industrial train line for ages. So let's map out where this is going to go. It needs to connect into this. So I'm going to bring this rail. Now I'm thinking of aiming it. Essentially, right the way through there. On 180 degrees, which is pretty much that trajectory, isn't it? Perfect. So we'll come down here, and then just keep forming this into bridge segments as we cross over the networks we've established today. Any network pillars detailing I will get rid of, don't worry. Getting all the little crisscrossing layers and networks happening here now, aren't we? Now I don't want it to be bridge all the way down, I don't think. We'll bring this back to the landmass over here before we switch back to land. And then this can start snaking down. Don't worry, train police, I am going to grade this. I know it's absolutely insane at the minute. I promise you. I will. Hold your comments, everyone. Just hold them. It's coming. So straight across the highway. And then we will snap back to ground. Essentially just grade this in sections. And I am obviously playing with mods, so I can go beyond the tile boundary, but I just want to do that. So we could do that connection there. Now we could actually connect this in on a little triangle train intersection here, which I think I'm almost certainly going to do, because then it'll provide outside connection for both rail lines there. And then rather than grade the entire thing in one go, which will massively deform it, I think that's going to be quite a bad idea, is we'll do it in sections up to the bridges. See if we can come to here. That takes us down to 2.5%. That's 1% there. And it does give us a new mound, but that's really easily blended in with a bit of soften. And plus it will end up embanking the rail through the suburb as well if we want to take a road underneath it at some point. And then same thing, just network multi-tool or move it, whatever your preferred slope mechanic is. I'm just going to keep sloping it up between bridge intersections. That's 4.6. That's probably too steep, isn't it? Maybe I can get a slightly better gradient here, I think. 3.4, I think, is certainly better. And then these bridges, what have we got at the minute? 0.8. Go to a 1.2. That one to there. That down to 3.1. And then this one back to there can be 0.9. So train police, I think you'll be happy with that. You should be. I think maybe this section, as it moves under the bridge, is a little possibly too gnarly. But it's all under 4%, so I'm happy. If you don't like that, please feel free to send me an email with your complaints and suggestions. But either way, I think we're at a good point for a detailing time-lapse now. Lots of little local roads here that want connecting back in. Lots of intersection marking fun to do, alongside network detailing like dusty rail bottoms and fencing. To bring in, to wrap up, the possible final road prep episode we'll have as the downtown finally enters the 9th tile after 27 episodes. We'll grab yourselves some snacks and we'll be right back with some network detailing. have a little detailing review, shall we? If we just glance over what's happened across our networks. During the episode, I forgot to remove one of the left turns. My apologies. Our bow tie intersection is now operational, although not currently too busy. It's going to, I think, suffer the same syndrome that the continuous flow in the downtown did. Until the stuff around it, we won't really get the full impact of it. But to run through it again, anyway, I've shown the graphic on screen. You can't turn left at this major intersection, so it removes the left turn conflict on all corners. Instead, if they need to turn left here, they turn right, they U-turn in the roundabout, and then they can go across. This is exactly the same on all of the directions. They can't turn left, they must go on the roundabout, U-turn, and then they can turn right. And this is true for all directions, so no left turn, you've got to go forward to do a U-turn to come back and take the turn here instead. So they're really fun projects. America, I guess, just being so car orientated, is full of these kind of massive intersection projects. And I definitely recommend doing them in your road network planning. To take a finished case in point of something significantly more extravagant with node controller in this instance, with the continuous flow intersection. Again, where the left turn is taken before the main intersection, so they emerge out here instead. And I hope you agree, they make really nice centerpieces to your road networks and certainly contribute quite a lot to a city center space. And they can look a little much in suburban rural areas, but again, you know, look at Phoenix. But I guess you'll probably find them around there as well. So, you know, they're really fun projects to add into your road planning, so definitely suggest them if you haven't taken one on. There is some vanilla stuff you can do, but really, node controller and intersection marking tool can do an awful lot for your cities, even with basic configurations here, right? And then a little island filler with a palm tree in the middle. More intersection markings will come as the builds evolve around them. Realize the roundabouts aren't marked here, but we'll do that as we build out these areas here. And same with all the major intersections down this key arterial road as well, which for the record will make a phenomenal first-person tour one day. I might actually do this while I'm away in Stockholm. From the Ziggurat Garden, this arterial road flows all the way down, right through the city centre, up the hill, through the central park and out the other side of the city, and back to what will be an eventual interchange. So that'll just be so cool, won't it? There's so much down this road. And of course the Hello People pathway is still as busy as ever. Never stops, does it? Wonderful. So that's been an awful lot of fun to see that come to fruition today. With lots of builds, of course, to come around it, just some basic road frames snaking us up. Thinking some more residential here might be quite nice. And then, of course, there'll be parks. Loads of different opportunities and some really hard space to build in. So we'll certainly see what appears next to here, of course. With already one of these views on the intersection filled out. So that'll be a lot of fun, a little bit of retaining wall and a city arch on the entrance into Illium from this point, which is a real key point. You get a good view of the skyline from here as you come over the hill. Down into the downtown, of course. Basic detailing around our transit centres here, some parking, concrete and pathways, just to set us up for adding walkability into the city. Same down here as well, these plaza spaces will get more props and finer detailing when we come to build that new renewed history area we spoke about a few times today. Really looking forward to doing that. That'll probably be the first episode to make when I get back from Stockholm. And once the mods have hopefully stabilised on the new patch. Down here, more industrial, dusty, overgrown wasteland at the feet of the factory. Which also has this rail line going through it now, which hopefully the train police aren't too upset with. I think it's okay. Really love this layer here. We'll hopefully see a train arrive up it today. It is connected. I don't think I've seen one join the detailing actually. So, yeah, we'll hopefully see one come up. It's a warehouse at the end of this line, I think, isn't it? I believe so. Yes, it is. But that's really fun to see that get added in. Overgrown details through here down toward the highway. I decided against the roundabouts and instead went for super nodes. I'm not sure about them. They might be a little big and possibly incredibly dangerous. So I might roundabout these eventually. I'll see how the traffic performs on them. And we'll likely do some filler intersection markings, I think, once we can see where the traffic's going to go and how busy it will get. So these could change. They were a little, possibly too obnoxious. it's a possibility, I feel. But we'll keep them in for right now. But it'll flow better than the 2 separate, or the 4 separate nodes, I suppose. Forcing it all down into 2 nodes on that intersection. Then this road brings us back up to the other side of the Bowtie intersection, which has some of the best views in the city over here now. I am incredibly proud of this big industrial view to the airport. Coming to a suburb here, and you just keep looking, seeing more and more and more. As I guess what is the south side of Illium kind of comes into view. And still so much more to do. There's all that land over there. But with this road frame prep today, we have added in quite a few more builds, comparing this in the current space to the downtown road network here. We're essentially about halfway done, aren't we? Really, in terms of the whole complete downtown space, which this highway here definitely marks the end of over this way. But an awful lot of fun anyway, as we say goodbye to another episode of Illium. An enormous shout out to the YouTube members and patrons that bankroll these videos, with a royal call to our golden patrons: Casino, Spartan Angel, Michael W, Phoenix MD, Blythe, Jamin, Great C, and Bryce Johnson. You're all heroes of the people. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Links below if you are interested. Apologies again for the kind of weird episode timing around the new DLCs. It's super awkward release window right before us all traveling to Stockholm, so I don't really want to record in Illium until they're publicly available, at which point I fly out the next day. So all of this is way in advance for the early access preparations. Again, available on Patreon if you're interested in seeing the next episode a week early, and also YouTube membership. Hang around for some cinematics of these wider edge of downtown Illium spaces. You'll see the whole scope and scale of the city from here. But I'll shut up and leave it there. I thank you all again so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.